Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today, weekend edition. Today is Saturday, June 27th. We're going to take a look at the market the way we usually do on the weekend, which indices, daily, weekly, indicators, and our key ETFs. Stocks in focus today: Micron Technology, Canadian Solar, Youku, Tudou, FireEye, and GoPro. Okay, we're going to start off here with the Dow. The Dow was down on Thursday, back up a little bit on Friday. We were up 56 points on Friday. Was up over twice that amount and then sold off. Kind of an inside bar in here. And so far, I mean, it's just still confirming the wave count I've got in here. Of a minute wave 1, minute wave 2 up, working on minute wave 3. If this is a third wave coming down, this should start accelerating if that's going to play out. If something else is happening, then that will change. Right now, I think the key point is getting a close below these closes right here, like 17,764, that close. So we get a close below this close, it's going to confirm the momentum to the downside. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. Similar type scenario. So what's the low close here? 2080. Yeah, it's 2079. So that 2080 area, I think on a closing basis is pretty critical. We get a close below that, and I think selling is going to definitely accelerate. But you can see that we're in between this kind of zone in here, and we've been chopping around in here for this last several weeks. So we'll see whether or not the momentum comes down. The moving averages are starting to kind of line each other, lay on top of each other. NASDAQ. Now this is the one that was acting more bullish. This looked like an ascending triangle of some kind, broke out, pulled back in. Now sometimes they do that on breakouts from ascending triangles. And so the thing to watch for, that I'm watching for here, is a complete breakdown. If it continues to sell and break this trend line here, it's very negative. Okay, that's complete failure of a breakout. Now, if it gains support right in here between 50.50 and 50.80 where it's at, and then starts to push back up again, then that reinforces the bullish scenario. New York Composite, we'll take a look at this. This is not any more clear than the others. I mean, the 21 is below the 55 in terms of moving averages. The 10 and 21 are kind of laying on top of each other, 10 slightly above the 21. But again, same picture as the Dow and the S&P 500. You can almost make the case, when you look at this, that this thing right here looks like a little bit of a head and shoulders top. You know, like a shoulder, big head, and a shoulder. But, you know, it's a little early. I mean, we'll have to watch and see. We just had so much congestion in this part right here that you can see the market has been trying to figure out what it's doing, where it's going. Okay, the next thing is the Russell 2000. And, of course, this is the one that has continued to push to new highs and then it's pulled back down here. Right now, the moving averages are all aligned bullishly to the high side. Let's take a look at the indicators real quick. Got oversold. I think I talked about that before. And that the fact that this particular indice, when it got, overbought, sorry. You know, you know what I'm talking about when I look at the chart here. So it got overbought and then sold off. And this particular indice, whenever it's gotten overbought, didn't stay there very long, okay, at least recently. And that's an indication of, you know, it's into the move already, and, you know, it's just, you know, the short-term plays that are occurring, swings back and forth. Okay, so not a whole lot new on this. I think the weekly might tell us a little bit more on that, but take a look at the Dow weekly. Not a whole lot. Inside bar for the week, and we were down 69 points on the week. Up and down choppiness. S&P 500 down 8.5 points on the week, and nothing a whole lot clearer showing up in here either. The NASDAQ, same thing. This looks more like a reversal bar to me on the NASDAQ. It's kind of a small reversal bar, but it definitely is a reversal bar in the fact that it opened up and then reversed back down and closed in the lower portion of the bar. Okay, but typically I like to see a little bigger bar before I truly call that a reversal bar, but that's what it's acting like. All right, the New York Composite Weekly, similar type thing. A little bit of a small reversal bar in here on the New York Composite. And closing back again, you know, so now we've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 closes below the 10-week moving average. Let's see, the next one we'll take a look at is the Russell 2000 on the weekly basis, and then that'll be it for the indices. Okay, so again, we still have this trend line. We've had this in place on the charts for a long, long time. We push up in here. Let's see if and we've got divergence showing up. And clearly I've talked about that because I didn't put that in just now. Now, when I look at this on the DI plus, it's about still showing divergence because this did not go to a new high at this point. So, you know, we're just not getting confirmation on this push, and that may cause it to roll over. We'll see. All right, that's it on the indices. Again, you know, just a lot of choppiness back and forth, and this is going to resolve itself. It's just a matter of how long is this going to take before this thing starts strongly moving in one direction or another. That's the big question. Let's take a look at the short-term trading index if I can find it. There we go. All right, so the 10-day is at 1.12. Again, just look at this. I mean, just right in the middle. No extreme reading on that whatsoever. Now, the CBOE VIX indicator strongly pushing Thursday, Friday, and boy, really, when this trend line breaks, this thing is really going to break down in terms of the market. And when this breaks, because it's just been hit and reinforced now, there's been 4 times that's created this trend line, and it looks like it's trying to push up towards a 5th time. The high-low indicator right here, high-low pulled back down below 0, so we had 29 more new lows for the year than new highs. So more new lows than new highs on the day for the market, and we pulled back down below 0. Again, no extreme reading, but now back in negative territory. McClellan Oscillator, we got to go back to the New York Composite to take a look at the McClellan Oscillator. McClellan Oscillator is sold back off. Here's where the minus 150, when you get below that, that's where I start looking at extreme oversold readings. And we're not there yet, but we're starting to approach it. Now, the thing to watch out for is back, if we start getting some intensive selling, is you can bounce off of these initial things here and they come back down, just like September, October. So we're going to have to watch. Right now, when we've bounced recently, the last 3 times, we've stayed back out of it. You know, we re-rallied. And so that's what's happened the last 3 times. And where are these areas? Minus 188, minus 187, basically, minus 190. So that 187 to 190 area seems to be generating support. Okay, let's see. Put to call ratio is 0.62, so not an extreme reading. That's the 10-day put to call ratio on the equity put to calls. Equities only off the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. All right, let's take a look at the High Yield Bond Fund. And you're in here somewhere. There we are. Okay, so this is continuing to reaffirm the sell-off that's occurring in the market. Risk off, that's happening. Whenever this is dropping, that's risk off. You can see the trend is the 10s below the 21, below the 55, below the 233. So they're all aligned negatively. And when you look at this on a weekly basis, This looks almost like a complete engulfing bar candle down, but it didn't get the entire low, didn't get the entire trading of the previous week, but pretty bearish looking. And when I scan back, the first one that jumps to mind is right here where it did that kind of thing. Okay, this is actually a little bit more bearish than this one, but you had 2 weeks of negative selling right after that. That was November 28th. So we'll see if this is an indication of more selling coming. With the way the VIX is approaching that trend line, with this resuming this downtrend in here, it's sure looking like we're getting into risk-off mode. Let's take a look at the 20-year Treasury bond ETF TLT, continuing to trend down, so that means interest rates are pushing up. I think the next support area is down here around 112.5, down with this previous low here, and you can see that previous low came in the middle of all of this congestion right here. Okay, so that's what I'd be looking for. We'll see whether or not 112.5 holds there, and I don't see any support between now and there on TLT. US dollar index, I think, continues to push higher. Right now, it's so far reinforcing the scenario that I've been thinking, that we had this intermediate wave 4, now 1, 2, and working a 3. We should take out this high if this is the case, and it looks like it. And my initial target is up here, and that may be conservative, but 101.37, and we'll see, starting to turn and pushing higher. So if the dollar's going up, that means it's going to negatively affect oil, probably negatively affect gold. We'll see. And let's take a look at oil. This is the next one we're going to look at. And the United States oil, gold's right underneath it. So this continues to press sideways, compression. I think this is some kind of compression going on. It's running into, we had these dotted lines where previous support now is going to be resistance, and it seems to have formed that. Now, we did have this one pop up here, but where did it run into problems? It ran into problems right in the middle of this congestion right here. So, literally you can draw a line in here coming across from there and bring it over. And it's not perfectly straight, but close enough. So that's a resistance. So we get a little resistance zone, and of course this is kind of doing that compressive activity that I just talked about. Gold right in here. Okay, this really, I don't understand what's going on here. I'm not really, I think we've got this, my preferred count is an A, B, working a C. I'm thinking that, that we ought to be getting a move like this, C on gold, but it's confusing because, again, with the US dollar scenario that's happening, and this kind of activity in here, this really is messy, very gappy. And so the thing I'm watching for is we get a break below this point right in here. And where is that? Let me go back to my cursor. And so we're talking about just a little below 110, about 109.75. We get below that, then I am switching to a more bearish view on gold, because this price action is just not confirming it. But right now it's not doing it. It just keeps wanting to mess around right in here in the 112 to 117 area. So we'll continue to watch it, see if it comes a little bit clearer. All right, let's take a look at some of the sector ETFs that I call them. Take a look at semiconductors. Okay, SMH. Now, look how quickly this turned from looking bullish, more highs, higher lows, pushing up, thinking, wow, here we go, this is confirming a breakout, and then boom, breaks down, breaks this trend line from March, and a little bit of an ABC rally, and then now it breaks down again. Especially on Friday, there was some huge hits in the semiconductor area. So all of a sudden, this is looking, negative. Now, has this gone to a new low yet? No. So you could make the case that says this is still in an uptrend. Yes, it is. But breaking this trend line and starting to roll over like this is not, I mean, you got to sit back and go, you just got to raise a question mark on it. The next one is the home builders. And the home builders is one that continues to push higher. But again, we'll see whether or not, and we're not getting any divergence. I was just going to say we're going to see whether or not we continue to get follow through and do this. I don't see any divergence on any of the indicators with this move. So this may continue up. And honestly, I don't know. You can make the case, say, well, wow, if the home builder is going up, then the economy is doing okay. If the economy is doing okay, then the stock market continue moving higher. And that may happen. I'm just a little skeptical about what's going on in here. I've just heard so much about, investor money sloshing around in home builders, into homes. And you just got to wonder what's really going on here. The next one is the financials. And the financials, they are right on the cusp of breaking down. I think we're real critical here. And here's why I say that. This trend line from October, tried to break out in June. And it's just not very successfully breaking out here. And then it's chopping around and it comes back down on the 19th, which was a week ago, Friday, right to this trend line. We bounce and then we come right back down to it on Thursday, and then we're pausing. So we break this trend line and start to roll over, that's going to be pretty negative. So right now, this is a pretty critical trend line, I think, on XLF. The next one is NASDAQ Biotech, IBB. All right, so this one again, I'm not getting any bearish divergence on the indicators. It did get overbought and then has pulled back. But right now, I mean, you just got to say it continues to trend higher. Now, this trend line, I think, is, again, a critical short-term trend line. It's about a 2-month trend line. When it has broken trend lines before, you get some pretty sharp little reactions out of it. So this is going to have to hold for this to continue to bounce up. And right now, we've got it trying, it looks like it's rolling over. As soon as I start to get, I need more than one close below the 10, but again, with no divergence, you got to sit back and lean to the fact that it continues to push higher. And then the other one that's going in the totally opposite direction is XLE, continues to trend to the downside. No change in this picture whatsoever. Same as I talked about last week. All right, let's talk about MU. So MU, huge collapse on Friday, big gap down. I think their earnings came out, and they weren't happy with it. Not a good earnings report, I believe, is what happened with this. But this has been in corrective mode, according to what I'm reading, ever since I think the top was back here in July of last year. So we've been basically doing some kind of corrective action, and I've got my scenario labeled right here. This is what it looks like to me. When I see 3 waves like this, and this is not bullish impulsive action, this is corrective action, and that's why I had the confidence to label this the way I have. And so therefore now we're continuing this move down. The real question is, where are you going to get support? You can see how the 55 is below the 233. All the moving averages are aligned negatively. When you broke below this point right here, which is about 21, and you could see there was in this area, and it broke through that pretty substantially, well, then you got to sit back and say, well, there's the next support. Well, to me, the next support's down in here in the 18 to 19, not too far below where it's at, but you might get support in here, and then you got to come down into here. So we'll see what kind of support comes in on MU. Pretty hard break, and I think on the volume, I mean, look at, it's like everybody went for the exits at the same time. 149 million shares. The next one is Canadian Solar. Canadian Solar down, big down day too. And again, this one is correcting. I'm still staying with my wave count that says that we've corrected, and I think we're trying to push into new highs here because we broke this trend line up here. I think we had 5 waves up in intermediate wave 1, which means, okay, we're in intermediate wave 2 pullback. So I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt, but honestly, this stock really has some pretty big swings and cycles to it. Now, I know the bulls on Canadian solar and solar will say, well, yes, of course, this is a new bull because we're in some new solar bull market for decades. And that may be, I don't know. All I know is what I've seen in terms of the way it's acted in the past. And I know the solar environment has changed since then. And a lot of new technology has been introduced. So right now I am leaning with the bull count. And I'm going to say that we're in basically a wave 2 of a bullish primary wave 3 up. So this is where I think this acts like we're wanting to trend. But right now we've got this and this. And the real question is, where does this stop? Okay, so if I look at, let me go back to my mouse, let's see what we've pulled back so far. If you look at a retracement of this entire first move in here, we've retraced almost 50%. So really, at any point, this could start to stop. So we'd have to look for a reversal. Are we getting any divergence? A little too early to tell. Looks like a little bit on RSI, not so much there, and not so much on demand index. So right now, the short-term trend and intermediate trend is down. Long-term trend is still up. So we'll just have to look to see and watch the price action to see if we get some support coming in down in here. So I think that's my current assessment on Canadian solar. Last time I remember talking about it, and maybe I talked about it in May, I can't remember which, but back on April 23rd, I said this looks like it's getting tired. And yeah, we got one more push, but that basically trapped some people short-term wise. We'll see. Now, if you're long-term holder in Canadian solar, then probably no big deal. But we are down 20% from April 23rd when I said this looks like it's getting tired. So anyway, let's see. Let's go to the next one on Youku Tudou. And Youku Tudou is pulling back. Again, I'm also leaning with, this is on a low, I believe all-time low on the stock. Yes, it is right here. Okay. Now, so if you believe in the fact that trends are lower lows and lower highs, if you're trending down, that's exactly what you have here. I mean, we got went to low, lower high, and we went to a lower low. Now, and this high right up here did not go to a higher high. But the fact that it broke this trend line and looks like 5 waves up from this low, very, very strong, I'm going with the fact that it's a first wave, intermediate wave, and a new bull move, and that we've got an ABC. I'm looking for a potential stop right into here, 23 to 24 area, maybe at the 55-day moving average. And we'll see if we get some support and it starts to turn. And if it doesn't do that, then maybe some other scenario is going on. But I'm going to stay with the bullish scenario till something else develops. The next one is FireEye. And FireEye also, this is kind of interesting because you've had this big move up initially. This is all the trading on FireEye, okay, since it went public. And then it had this collapse down to new lows in here. Then you had a lot of this choppy sideways, and then we've had this push that we've tried to push up here. The main things I see, this doesn't look real impulsive to me, but we are trying to push higher. The thing I see from a chart pattern, this was a symmetrical triangle in here that projected right to here, and that projection was achieved. Okay, so that target was achieved. Now we're pulling back. It's rolling over. We don't have a complete breakdown yet, short-term wise. But I think the critical thing I'm watching for here on FireEye is that it holds this trend line from December. Okay, actually, you could say the low is here in October, and that we got this trend line. And it needs to hold that. If it doesn't and breaks that, then something else is starting to go on. So that's the scenario on FireEye. All of the let's see, all of the what do you want to call this, security software type companies in that niche, they all got hit on Friday. And I haven't looked at a whole bunch of them, but VDSI, I think that's the name of it. And then Cyber got hit. So they all were in corrective mode. And the last one we're looking at today is GoPro. And GoPro got in with the trade idea, buying puts on Friday, and got a really nice entry on this. I think GoPro right now, I mean, you look at this, again, bullish action, kind of like what FireEye did, and then we sell all the way back down, and basically we're back to where we started, in here. Now, granted, it went public right here, but we're back to this point. And right now, I am going with the fact that we're 5 waves down. This does not look, I'm not seeing 5 waves in sequence in here. Okay, I've looked at it a couple of times, tried to look at making a decent 5-wave count up. It's like, is this 5 waves, is whatever, and I just don't see it. So right now I'm going with the fact that this is corrective mode and that this is breaking a trend line. And you could make the case that, if you drew a trend line, let me draw it in here, even from the bottom, and went to this right there, that it's breaking it. Okay, so it's breaking this trend line, and it broke it right here on the 22nd. Kind of had a little 3-day pullback, and then is further coming down. So the 10 is broken below the 21. Looks like short-term trend is rolling over. And so now I'm just watching to see what kind of move to the downside that we get. And so I am going with the fact that this is still looking to correct back, just primarily because of this move right here. This looks corrective to me. That means that this is the primary direction. This is corrective. Then I'm looking for this to resume this direction. And so that's what I'm watching for on GoPro, and we'll see whether it continues to move to the downside. All right, that's it for the weekend. Long video. We'll try to wrap it up. And if you're watching the video anywhere else besides my website, head on over there. I've got new educational courses that I put out, and I've got a full complete course. Take a look at what you got. Take a look at it there. If you have any questions, send me an email. But there's basically 5 different things that you can pick from. Depending on what you're looking for, but I think you'll find some interesting stuff there. And then I've got posts out there, access to the Trade Ideas webpage, first name and email get you access to that, and I've got a free PDF for you also. So, all right, this has been Joe for Beyond the Chart. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday.